Apple is here again flaunting titanium on the new iPhone 16 Pro Max. At first glance, it appears to be the same titanium exoskeleton design that we saw last year. That's bonded to an aluminum midframe with solid-state diffusion. I successfully debonded my own titanium iPhone 15 Pro Max last year, and this was all the titanium that was used in the build. I imagine they'll be milking this titanium exoskeleton thing for the next few years. It's actually pretty nifty stuff, and of course I'm always impressed by Apple's ability to run an hour-and-a-half event over what essentially boils down to slapping a new number on the box. And while I personally do believe Apple's whole event this year could have been an email, there are a few subtle improvements on this 16 Pro Max that we should take a look at. There's a braided USB-C cable inside the box. This included cable can only transfer data at USB 2 speeds, and not the USB 3 speeds that the iPhone 16 Pro Max is capable of. Kind of a bummer getting throttled right out of the box like that, but Apple fans are used to it. This shade is aptly named Desert Titanium. Desert's the right word since it's definitely the color of dehydration. The singular new physical feature that Apple has graced us with this year is the sapphire-plated camera control button on the right side of the phone. Apple has gone out of their way to not call it a button, even though it most definitely is. The coolest part about this button is not its ability to act as a shutter button or control the camera zoom, is that it's supposedly covered with an actual sapphire crystal, since not only is the button clicky but also capacitive, meaning it can sense full presses, half presses, and subtle strokes of your finger. I imagine Apple is using sapphire because 1, it's smooth and slick, but also because of its thermal conductivity. The watts per meter Kelvin of glass is around a 1. Watts per meter Kelvin is just the units used to measure thermal conductivity and not something you have to remember. It's not going to be on the quiz. But the watts per meter Kelvin of sapphire crystal is a whopping 35, a huge increase in sensitivity. Not to be confused, of course, with diamonds though, which have over 2,000 watts per meter Kelvin thermal sensitivity. I don't think we'll see Apple rolling out any diamond-covered capacitive buttons anytime soon though. They can barely give us the right cable in the box. The sapphire Apple is using though is the same sapphire that Apple has always been using. Although subtle, I do see marks at levels 5, 6, 7, and 8, while pure sapphire would only scratch at levels 8 or 9. It might be due to the micro-fracturing of whatever cutting process Apple's using to extract the button's shape from the large sapphire boules. You can see that even with my gem tester, the sapphire button barely registers as a gemstone on the digital readout. My Casio F91W has a glass screen, which obviously doesn't move the meter, but if we take a look at pure sapphire on a Tissot watch or an actual brick of sapphire, don't ask where I got it, the reading goes off the charts. Apple's Sapphire has always been a bit of a letdown, but it's cool to see them trying something new with the camera control button. I do hope someday Apple